Howka everyone, Dr. Dave here. Today we're going to be looking at archaeology and the tools employed by the region's indigenous peoples, the Kumiyai.
The Kumiyai are the indigenous people that have lived and currently live in San Diego County, Imperial County, and Baja California, Mexico for over 10,000 years. During that time, the Kumiyai became masters of their land. The Kumiyai landscape consists of mountains, the coast, and the desert. Each of these terrains provided different resources for the Kumiyai and presented unique challenges. To overcome these challenges and to make the most of their land, the Kumiyai created tools and learned to utilize the biotic, living, and abiotic, non-living, factors around them. In addition to stories and traditions passed down through the generations, there is also plenty of archaeological evidence that proves this.
Archaeology is the study of human history and prehistory through the excavation, or digging up, of sites and the analysis of artifacts and other physical materials. An artifact is a material made or used by people, and it's typically one of cultural or historical interest.
Archaeologists are scientists who examine places where humans may have resided long ago. They then dig in that area in search of these artifacts and attempt to place them in a larger historical context. Archaeology is important because it allows us to learn about ancient cultures and the ways in which they lived. It also increases our appreciation and respect for those cultures. Today, I hope to give you all a glimpse of what the work of an archaeologist looks like. Kristen, my friend and coworker, will be helping me along the way.
Hi everyone, I'm Kristen and I'm the curator here at IVDM. As the curator, I'm responsible with managing and overseeing our vast collections that you see here. As part of that task, I record, store, and preserve artifacts and objects, as well as organize new exhibits. Today I'm going to show you various tools the Kumiyai have made and used in their everyday lives. First, let's learn a little bit more about the Kumiyai. The Kumiyai lived and ate off the land. The Kumiyai ate large animals, like mountain sheep, and small animals, like rabbits. Their diet also included certain types of birds, reptiles, insects, and fish. Last, but certainly not least, the Kumiyai ate food from plants, like wild nuts, yucca, and agave. In the Kumiyai household, the men were responsible for skinning and hunting the animals, while the cooking was done by the women. So when the Kumiyai men would hunt, they would often wear hunting garments if available. These were often made from fragile plant materials and were subject to degradation. However, here at IVDM, we've been lucky enough to have a wonderful example of this, which you can see here has stood the test of time. This is a traditional Kumihi headdress, also known as a hunting blind, that was used for hunting and made of yucca fibers and yucca leaves.
The headdress Kristen just showed us was discovered nearly 100 years ago in the Vallecito Wilderness, east of Pinyon Mountain. It is incredibly old and delicate. The only reason why it has survived this long is because it was stored in a rock shelter like this one, where it's protected against the elements, including wind, heat, sunshine, and rain.
The context of the location helps us to understand that this headdress was used for hunting, since it was located near a wash commonly used by bighorn sheep. Around the same time that the headdress was found, other Kumiyai artifacts were also being discovered.
Let's check back in with Kristen to see what she's got in collections.
So the artifact that I'm going to show you here today actually has many names. The Kumiyai in particular refer to it as a rabbit stick, but it is also known as a curved or killing stick, a straight-on boomerang, or a non-return boomerang. This artifact is made of hardwood, such as mesquite or oak. It has a handle end and striking end. The rabbit stick was usually used as a thrown weapon to kill small animals, explaining its name, although it has also been used as a weapon of war.
The rabbit stick was thrown with a sidearm motion, allowing it to hover just over the ground where animals were found.
The rabbit stick was used to hunt in open areas with little plant life because it could be thrown accurately for long distances, as long as it did not hit anything else along the way.
One of the amazing parts about the rabbit stick is that sticks similar to it have been found to be used by a large number of indigenous groups in the southwestern and south central United States, as well as Baja California and Mesoamerica. These findings point toward the intercommunication between all of the local tribes and the sharing of some of their knowledge and tools. So the Kumiyai had many ceremonies and harvests between its many bands, and one such artifact that they used for such occasions is known as an agave stick, or also referred to as a digging stick. The agave stick, much like the rabbit stick, was typically made of hardwood, often mesquite or ironwood. There are few variations of the agave or digging stick, but in general, one end of the stick was pointed, while the other end was carved into a chisel. The pointed end was used to make holes that seeds could be planted into, while the chisel end could dig out agave plants and chop off their leaves in preparation of celebratory agave roasts. The agave sticks could be fire hardened or increase their durability, or sharpened with stones when they got dulled from repeated use.
Fully utilizing a resource was fundamental to the Kumiyai. An example of this is agave. Agave was a useful resource for the Kumiyai, both as a food and as a tool once it was cooked. To roast the agave, the Kumiyai would use digging sticks to create pits, which they then filled with stone and fire. The agave heart and leaves would then be thrown in the pit and buried for 1 to 3 days, trapping the heat and roasting the agave.
Cooked agave would then be separated into its fibers and its flesh. Agave fibers can be worn together to create string and sandals. The cooked agave flesh could be eaten as is or compacted into cakes and sun-dried to extend its shelf life almost indefinitely.
Although it looks like a simple sharpened stick, the agave stick was a useful tool in the Kumiyai lifestyle. Agave is able to grow in times of drought, unlike the acorn and pinyon nut, which are climate sensitive. This simple, sharpened stick gave the Kumiyai new ways of thriving in their environments.
Isn't it amazing just how much history is kept underground just waiting to be discovered? However, not all artifacts need to be excavated, and not all of them look like artifacts to the untrained eye. And one example of that is fish trap, used by the Kumiyai and Kauai people on ancient Lake Kauai, known today as the Salton Sea.
Surrounding this region are hundreds of rock formations that we today know as fish traps. These fish traps were used to catch fish in a way that had never been seen or done before. The location of these fish traps demonstrate the way the Kumiyai engaged with their land and how that landscape changed from season to season.
Archaeological evidence shows us that the Kumiyai were aware of fish spawning patterns, which they took advantage of even when designing their fish traps. You see, the fish remains that have been found in these traps are primarily razorback suckers and bony-tailed chubs. These fish typically move to shallow waters when ready to spawn. The Kumiyai built their fish traps just below the shoreline because they knew that these fish would be resting there during their spawning season.
The locations of fish traps also tells the story of the recession of Lake Kauai. Archaeological investigations by foot and by air through the use of a UAV have shown that these fish traps are located at several different points of elevation, between 40 feet above sea level to over 200 feet below it. Since the traps were placed near the shoreline, these layers of traps show that the lake was receding from season to season. Luckily, the Kumiyai did not destroy their fish traps to make new ones. Otherwise, we would not have this bit of evidence that supports the presence and magnitude of Lake Kauai in the distant past.
I hope you've all enjoyed and gained a greater appreciation for the history of our region and the work that's been done to preserve and celebrate it. Here at Imperial Valley Desert Museum, our mission is to continue that effort and to share it with all of you.
If you want to learn more, don't be afraid to stop by your local Imperial Valley Desert Museum. We hope to see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye!